She screamed, "Stop him! He's ruining a private HOA event!" While her daughter stood in a white dress on my dock, crying like the world was ending, and I was holding a knife. The music was loud, people were clapping, chairs were tied with ribbons, and I was just standing there thinking how crazy life gets. 1 hour earlier, I was fixing my fishing nets, minding my own business, when a woman I had never seen before came running with a clipboard and fake smile. She said, "Sir, you need to leave. This area is reserved." I laughed a little and said, "Reserved for who?" She didn't even answer properly. Just pointed behind her where workers were setting up flowers and a wedding arch. I told her calmly, "This is my dock." She looked at me like I was a homeless guy trying to sneak into a rich party. Then her tone changed. "No, this belongs to the HOA. We approved this. Wedding weeks ago." I checked my phone, pulled up my property papers, but she didn't even look. She just waved her hand and said, "Security will handle you." 10 minutes later, her daughter arrived in a fancy car, smiling for photos, and suddenly my quiet dock turned into a full wedding venue. Guests were walking over my planks like I didn't exist. Someone moved my fishing boxes. Someone else unplugged my lights. I felt my chest getting tight, but I stayed quiet. Then the woman came back, closer to my face now, and said in a low voice, "If you don't leave, I'll call the cops and say you're trespassing." I said softly, "On my own land?" She smirked. "Let's see who they believe." When the police sirens came, she crossed her arms like she already won. She told them I was trying to sabotage her daughter's wedding. The guests were filming me, whispering, some laughing. One guy even said, "Just let them have it." Man. I looked around at my dock, my water, my ropes holding their expensive decorations, and something inside me snapped. I walked to the edge, grabbed the main rope tying their wedding platform to my dock, and said out loud so everyone could hear, "I warned you, this is my property." That's when she screamed. The bride dropped her flowers and I started cutting. The rope fell into the water with a soft splash. Not dramatic at all, but the silence that followed felt heavy. For 2 seconds, nobody moved. Then the platform started drifting slowly like it was confused about where to go. The bride looked down, then at her mother. "Mom, why is it moving?" The woman's face went white, then red. She ran toward me screaming, "Are you insane? You can't do this!" One of the cops stepped forward, but even he looked unsure. The guests started shouting, some laughing nervously, some panicking. A photographer slipped and almost dropped his camera. The wedding arch tilted. Someone yelled, "The cake!" Like that was the most important thing in the world. I just stood there, knife still in my hand, heart beating hard. I wasn't trying to be a hero. I was just tired of being treated like I didn't exist. The woman kept yelling, "Arrest him! He's destroying private property." One cop asked me, "Sir, is this your dock?" I finally showed them my phone. Zoomed into the property map, the documents, the registration. He stared at it longer than I expected. Then he looked at her and said, "Ma'am, can you show proof this belongs to the HOA?" She opened her mouth, closed it, then said, "We've always used this area. Everyone knows it." The cop didn't smile. That's not how ownership works. Behind us, the platform was now several feet away, drifting into open water. Guests were trying to pull it back using ribbons and extension cords. The bride was crying, mascara running, yelling at her mother. "You said you booked this properly." The mother snapped back, "I did! He's lying!" Then she looked at me again and said quietly, "You think you're clever? You have no idea who you're messing with." That line stuck with me. Not because it scared me, but because it sounded exactly like something someone says when they have no real power. One of the cops went to talk to the guests, trying to calm them down. The other stayed with us. He asked her again for documents. She pulled out a stack of papers, but they were just printed emails. Some HOA letter with no official seal. The cop shook his head slowly. "Ma'am, this doesn't prove ownership." She raised her voice. "Then arrest him for disorderly conduct. He ruined a wedding." The cop looked at me, then at the water, then back at her. "He removed people from his own property." That's not a crime. That's when things got ugly. One of the guests, a big guy in a suit, walked up to me and said, "You're going to pay for this." "My brother is on the HOA board," I replied, calm but firm. "Good. Tell him to bring the real papers." He laughed and said, "You think this ends here?" I didn't answer. I was watching the platform now stuck against some reeds. half the decorations falling into the lake. The cake box tipped over and disappeared into the water. Someone screamed again, like the world was ending for real this time. The bride suddenly ran toward me. For a second, I thought she was going to hit me. Instead, she stopped, crying, and said, "Please, just let us use it for 1 hour." "Just one?" Her mother shouted, "Don't beg him!" I looked at the girl. She wasn't angry, just broken. I almost felt bad. Almost. Then, I remembered how her mother tried to get me arrested. On my own land. I said softly, "I asked you to leave first." "You laughed." The girl looked at her mom. "Why didn't you just listen?" Her mom turned away. The cops told everyone they had to leave the dock area. Some guests started packing, others kept filming. The woman was still arguing, saying she would sue me, ruin me, destroy my life. I just said one line, not loud, not dramatic. "You built your dream on my land without asking. That's on you." She froze when I said that, like it finally hit her that this wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. It was a loss. Then her phone rang. She answered, spoke for a few seconds, then her face dropped. She slowly said, "What do you mean it's not HOA property?" She looked at me again, but this time there was no anger, just shock. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. The truth was already doing the work for me. She hung up the phone, and for the first time since this whole mess started, she looked small. Not angry, not loud, just lost. The cop noticed the change and asked, "Everything okay, ma'am?" She forced a laugh and said, "Yes, just a misunderstanding," but her hands were shaking. The bride was sitting on a folding chair, staring at the water where her wedding cake had sunk like it never mattered. Guests were slowly leaving, whispering, checking their phones, uploading clips. I could already hear people saying my name even though I never told anyone. Then another car pulled up. Black SUV, tinted windows. 2 men stepped out in suits, not smiling, not rushing. The woman's face changed again, but this time with fear. One of the men walked straight to her and said quietly, "Why did you use the dock?" She started talking fast, saying the HOA approved it, saying I caused trouble, saying it was urgent. The man didn't even look at me. He just said, "We told you last year this land was privately owned. You ignored the warning." The bride looked up sharply. "What warning?" Her mom froze. I finally understood what was really happening. This wasn't her first time doing this. She had been using other people's spaces, bullying them, and nobody fought back. Until now, the second man turned to the cops and showed them an ID. Not HOA, City Legal Office. He said, "She's under review for multiple false claims of authority." The cops looked at each other. One of them said, "So she's been impersonating?" By the time the legal team left, the mother was speechless. Her HOA lies exposed for everyone to see. The dock was quiet again, the wedding platform a soggy memory in the water, and the bride slowly realized that her mother's fake authority had cost her everything. I stepped back, hands on my hips, watching the chaos settle. For the first time in months, my property felt safe, my rules mattered, and justice had quietly, perfectly been served. As the guests left, one whispered to another, "Some people really need to learn not to mess with what isn't theirs." And in that moment, I knew sometimes the truth doesn't need shouting. It floats silently and it always wins.